Good afternoon from Yammy TV. As you know, I'm still on holiday on the Isle of Wight, on my holiday resort, my first in history, we know that as well. Oh, sorry, wishing you all a pleasant day. Hoping your day's as good as it seems down here with the sunshine and everything. A slight bit of wind, but you know, to be outside these walls, having once lived behind them, feels a bit surreal. Interesting, Patrick, Murren and others have already said this morning, how does it actually feel once living inside there and now not living inside there? So strange to answer that one, because I'm not involved in crime no more, so I have no fear whatsoever. I'm not a licensed member as well. I have no fear of going back behind those walls. We were talking the other day about the guilty feet have no rhythm. You know, it's so good when you don't have to look over your shoulder and you're looking at it from another perspective and another point of view. So we know, first time around, the other day, I went to Albany first, which was very, very daunting, especially because Albany had more of a, how do we put it, a more serious reputation than Parkhurst. But in the early days, after Albany, when I reached Parkhurst for the first time, I was excited about going there. The fear factor had gone from the first time of Albany because I knew the kind of people, criminals like myself, that were already in Parkhurst while I was on the sweatbox on my way here. You know, you're talking about Razor, we're talking about Squeaky McCann, who we're going to talk about very much after. You know, a very, very legendary figure, somebody that I really respected. I think Pat Tate that time was, and Kenny and that had all been across Albany and around about that time as well. But on reaching Parkhurst, I was really excited because during the early days of allocations from London prisons, where you could be allocated anywhere to the ACATs, depending on your crime. You know, that if you're nicked for armed robberies and murders and that kind of stuff, sadly, you would be going to the high security estate. Parkhurst was that at that time. So there were some well-known figures. In fact, everybody was there, from the Arifs, Colsons, Gentrys, everybody that you can think of, you can imagine, Stephen Gillen, Razor, everybody was there at that time. Like I said, Squeaky McCann. So reaching there, I'd heard about people giving the allocation screw in the London local jails, 500 quid or something. Can you get me to Parkhurst? Because you know that it's kind of party lifestyle before the escape. You know, the food gets cooked. The inmates were really running the prison at that time. You know, kind of in a funny way, policing the wings. You know, the screws and the officers at that time would leave everybody to just get along with it. There was a lot of underhand stuff going on, I'm sure you know through other stories and everything. Even Bronson, Charlie, was around about that time there when he was on normal location, because this was the time when he got attacked, I think with a pitchfork or something like that outside the gardens. I wasn't there, but I was either next door in Albany or somewhere else, so I heard about this story. But no, I wasn't on the island with Charlie Bronson, but I remember hearing, you know, through others that he had the gardening job in it, and at that time, so before that bad run started for him, when they started picking on him and doing all that kind of stuff, and he's been incarcerated ever since. These are one of the first stories that I ever heard when I came to these places. So on reaching Parkhurst, I wasn't in for no surprises. It was absolute paradise. Everything was happening. You could get drink, booze, drugs. The currency was brilliant. The staff, you know, this is where I got that one from, where, you know, the officers used to come and say, yeah, he's a sexual offender, nonce as we know it. He's got to go. He's a wrong un. Get that job done. You know, in some ways, like I said earlier, we were policing the wings. But on this first occasion, I was only here 3 months. But what an enjoyable time. So I actually got discharged from here. I think it was just before or just after the Queen's pardon. I can't remember which way round it was, but obviously we can get back to that. You know, these days my memory's not as good as it used to be. But yeah, that's where I met Squeaky McCann, and it was in Parkhurst where the famous story of the gym officer called Graham, we'll call him Graham, allegedly came with his dog outside McDonald's, which would have been down there, and was meant to be somebody that I knew that was bringing in a parcel, was going to give him a parcel, of drugs for me to bring in one Christmas during that time, allegedly. And lo and behold, when this happened, somebody went down the block and said that he had done this for me. And I got shipped out after those 3 months, and the police came to visit me and asked me that somebody called blah blah blah, we've got his name, and said to me, Yammy, look, it's alleged that you was involved in blah 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 blah. I stated matter of factly, because he didn't, and I said that he didn't bring nothing in for me, and that the person that was saying that he brought stuff in for me was saying it because he wouldn't go down reception to get some extra t-shirts or something like that out of his property without him being there. So really that person, that prisoner, was after a favour from him without going through the legitimate channels of trying to get his stuff from reception that he'd already been refused to have because of the colours of the clothes. So I believe that that person blamed Graham and blamed me, that me and him was having some kind of dealings with drugs, and that was that. So the police came to see me. Graham got his job back. I think he left the system, or he ended up in Liverpool or somewhere like that. And one day I got a postcard off him saying, thank you, Samson, thank you, Yammy, for that. It's not very rarely somebody, a prison officer, would like to thank an inmate for that kind of stuff. Call me what you want, but it's part of the story. Also, during that time, you've also heard that this is where one of the affairs where the husband and wife worked within those walls, and an inmate had an affair with his wife, and where that he was quite a decent man before that, and then turned into one of the horriblest officers that the world had ever seen after that, you know. So things like that, they happen in behind these walls here, and what a frightening sight that is. You know, real walls, nowhere to run to. You know, the escape happened after that period. I think the escape happened about 95, 90, round about that time, something like that, where John Marriott was the governor of Parkhurst prison. Many think that, you know, he was sacked from his job, which he was as the governor, when Mr. Rose and everybody allegedly escaped from here. But in fact, I know through inside information that he actually became a worker within the prison mental health as well. And basically, yeah, Parkhurst, so many tales as well. Squeaky McCann, my nephew, Michael, not my real one, but a boy who's very, very close to me, who I love dearly. You know, we're going to go on to this part in a little while, in a short while, where he was alleged to have, one of these, anyway, I can't remember exactly, but, you know, one of these places where, you know, he was alleged to have thrown hot fat over somebody again, which was allegedly. But yes, this is Parkhurst, and this was classed as the place to be before the escape. Wishing you all well today. I'm coming up in a minute with a tribute to Squeaky McCann, and I hope you're all having a great day. I'm enjoying my day, my time down here, and I love you all, and I'll see you all very, very shortly.